All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have the profound honor again of talking with my friend Jimmy from Nerdin with Boots, otherwise known as Trinity Handmade. Jimmy, welcome back to my channel, my man. I am so excited today because today we're going to talk all about your whites, all your whites boots. I personally have never owned any whites. I actually have my first pair of Nicks here.
Yep.
From Nobleman's Apothecary. So we could talk about that. They're kind of cousins. They're kind of brand cousins, I would say. Pacific Northwest. Jimmy, welcome to the channel, my friend.
Thanks for having me on again, Dale. I'm
Absolutely.
excited. I hope I have enough experience to help some people out today. But disclaimer, I am by no means an expert on this subject, but I can regurgitate what experts have told me. So
Hey, you're an enthusiast, you're a smart guy, and I think that qualifies you. Hey, none of us are experts, right? We're
sure.
we just love boots and we love to talk about them and we love to share our experiences. So you are in welcome company, I would say.
Cool. Cool.
So,
Cool.
absolutely. So yeah, again, I've never owned any whites, but you own 6 pairs now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and I've been watching your channel too. You've been sort of reviewing them as you get them in, and I know personally speaking, I follow just a few brands very closely. Whites, every time you move to a new brand, it's like a whole new language. It's like all these new lasts, uh,
Yep.
new sizing discussion, new leathers that Nicks and whites they use Seidel more, I know, than Alden does. In fact, I don't think Alden uses Seidel at all. So why don't you kind of walk us through like step one, where you got your first pair of whites and how that went?
Sure. So my first exposure to whites was on like the Goodyear Welt subreddit a few years ago, and they were a popular boot. They'd come up a lot, the olive wax flesh, MPs specifically to service boots, and so a lot of people see it as an alternative to like a Viberg service boot, a little
Yes.
bit lower price point, a little bit lower finishing than Viberg, but a different vibe in my opinion, especially where Viberg is trending now. They're splitting even further and further apart, where maybe they were a little more congruent, but now they're kind of diving off. So I see them as a good alternative with for a different reason, right? So that was my first kind of exposure, and I always thought they looked cool, but like most people who start off in this hobby, I'm never going to spend that much money on a pair of boots. That's crazy. Like why would you ever need more than Red Wings or Thursdays, whatever, I got more into the hobby more and more, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I see it. I see the value. I see why they cost that much money, and I see why they're that much better, right? So my first pair of boots were these cinnamon wax flesh
Ooh.
MP. This is the MP Sherman half sole. So half sole, and the Sherman has like the 2-piece counter and backstay. So that the MP M1 has the 1-piece. This all 1-piece, like a Viberg boondocker, like a true boondocker 1-piece. So that's the MP M1. So that's where they're different. And then each one has a full day night sole, or they have a half sole version. So there's like four, and there's a 365 also. There's a lot of MP models, but I went with the Sherman half sole with the plain cap toe, and that was my first whites. And I put this thing on, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. That is the
Yes.
serious boot, right? And I got these fitted to me by Baker Shoe via their mail-in fit sheet, right? So you print it out, trace your foot out, you mail it in, wait a week or two. Someone on their team, Kyle or someone else, will contact you via email and say, hey, this is what we recommend for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's worth noting before we go any further that my personal opinion on fitting these whites is to do something like that. Either send them into whites or into bakers directly, and they will help you. And because once you're fitted on one last, it's really simple to figure out your sizing for the others. It can be pretty simple formulas. You move up a width or you go up a length, and you're good to go.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. So I think in your case, with your 55 last Nicks,
Yeah.
that's really similar. That is technically the same last that Whites uses.
Okay.
There's a pretty famous like subreddit where this guy's saying that they're similar and different. And then a guy comes in from Nicks and says, no, they're exactly the same, but it's the arch. They do the arch differently, like how they profile the arch in there. The leather shank and the arch support is what makes it feel a little differently. And then, you know, differences in thickness of leather and stuff will slightly change the shape of a toe and everything. So you should be the same size in that as you are whites 55 last. And then
No.
right, which is good to know. And then from that, it's pretty simple to hop down, figure out what your MP size is, or figure out what I have the Northwest last also, and I have two 55s. I have an MP and I have the 50/50 last. And so
Okay.
they're all pretty similar, honestly, in my opinion. There's like, you know, slight variations and little nuances to each. And they're all, like, aside from the MP, I have the same size in all of them.
Okay. Okay.
But that's something we can talk about too, is like why my sizing is a little weird because of my feet and kind of, which I think is kind of an interesting thing, because I have two different size feet. My left foot is pretty much an 11 with a thick sock on a Brannick. It's like an 11. And then my right foot is like a 10 and a half.
Huh.
And then I'm between a B and a C width. So I'm not like a true B or a true C.
Interesting.
So yeah, so it's interesting. So I can kind of get a gauge for what last feels like a full size down, and then what it feels like a half size down, right? So if I take, for instance, I'm a 10D in 55, that's what I like to wear, at least.
Yeah.
I feel what that feels like at a full size down with an 11, and I feel what it feels like on my right foot with a half size down at a 10 and a half.
Interesting. Okay.
And then I'm technically like up like 1.5 widths, not just like one width up. It's because I'm between a B and a C, so a D width is like 1.5 up on the widths, right?
Interesting. Wow. So you get like literally 1 foot in each shoe is 1 foot in a different size, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. I probably should get like split sizing shoes, but that like creates its own issues with, you know, like returns and stuff. And it's just simpler, streamline the process. And I stick to one. I pretty much size to the 10 and a half because my heel to ball is 10 and a half on both feet. My left foot, the longer one, kind of just more or less gets used to being a little bit deeper in the toe box. And it hasn't been an issue on whites at all. I find that there's plenty of toe room past that. I'm never crammed in there. I've encountered that on some other, you know, brands, but hasn't been a problem with whites. There's more than enough room in there.
Okay. So the whites, they have their own 55 last then, right? They call it the 55?
It's technically the exact same last, actually. They're from like the same manufacturer, same maker, and it's not hard to find that. Maybe we can throw the link in the description to that subreddit. The guy from Nicks jumps in and talks about how they're the same. They feel a little different because the way they do the arches are different. It's not too hard to find, and there's some comparison photos, and they do look a little different in the photos, you know, side to side, even though they're like technically the same size.
Right. Okay, that is very interesting to know. Just first off, like, speaking about these, I wore them once. I've owned them for about 3 weeks now, and I feel kind of bad it took me so long to put them on, because I was contemplating using these as my Thunderdome pair.
Sure.
Yeah, they got my engineers in Crust Shell Cordovan. They got it done like days before the
saw that.
Yeah, literally down to the wire. So that was my original plan. So I was sort of reserving these as a backup. This will be my unofficial Thunderdome pair. I'll sort of try to ride both of them and just to see how they both work out. I have to say, stepping into these was like stepping into a new experience altogether. Like you were saying, the arch support. I never knew what real arch support felt like, but when I put these on, I'm like, oh my God, like this thing's like seriously, like it's jutting into my arch. It's like, nope, your arch isn't going anywhere. Like it holds it in place. And even on the bottom, I don't know if you can see, but like yeah, it's like angled.
You'll see that on the whites too. You can see how
Yes.
And that's the leather shank, right? And all that arch support just builds up, and it compounds and makes that kind of, it's like, it's like on a dress shoe, how they do like a fiddle back waist. So that just kind of naturally happens from all that stacked leather from the arch, and then the shank, and that insole, like the layers just built up and built up.
Right.
So how do you like it compared to, like, say, a Truman that has like no arch support?
Yeah, true. Well, it's hard to say. Like, I'm so used to not having arch support. I'm really comfortable with no arch support. So I'll have to, wear these hard for the next few months and really get a good opinion formed on it. But so, at first it was a little jarring. I'm like, whoa, this is kind of like intrusive of feeling almost.
Yep.
Like I've never had that. But combine that with, there's so many other things that this boot has going on, like the 7 to 8 ounce waxed flesh is so thick compared to the other boots that I have. And so just everything about it is just like, if I needed to run into the apocalypse, I'd probably reach for these, because these are not, I could see why like wildland firefighters prefer these brands. I see it now. Like, they're indestructible. They feel indestructible, truly. I mean,
absolutely, man. Yeah. You feel like you have like a piece of armor on your foot for sure.
That's very well said. Yes, armor. That's literally what they feel like. I mean, indestructible is what they feel like. Like, I love my Trumans. I love the weight, the feel. They're heavy, but not too heavy. Great for like day-to-day casual wear. But if I need to go into the action, this is definitely the thing I'll reach for.
Yeah, and so that's a good point that you kind of just touched on too, is that they are on the heavy side, but I feel that as long as they're sized correctly, you don't necessarily feel that weight on foot. You're
Right.
Because it's supporting you and it's holding your foot and you're carrying it with you. If your foot's swimming in there and it's sliding, you're gonna feel it, like you're picking that boot up as you go, whereas the boots just kind of carry you when they're sized properly, right?
That's a very good point. Yes. And also, not to mention, like, this heel is so tall that I easily stand an inch taller in these.
Yeah.
Any other boot I've ever worn. Like, I felt like for the first time, like moderately not short for the first time in my life when I wore it. So, normally I feel like a shrimp. I'm 5'8".
Yeah, I feel so. Right now I'm wearing my my 7-inch, one of my Thunderdome pairs, my 7-inch Bounty Hunters from Baker's, lace to toe whites on the 55 lasts, and it has the full logger heel. Yeah, I'm over 6 foot in these for sure. So these boots right here, those are my Knicks.
Okay.
My other Thunderdome pair lurking in the background.
You're doing,
and
they
have that. Yeah, I'm doing 2 pairs. So they have that same Packer heel, but it's a short one. It's like 3/4 the height of that swashbuckler.
Okay, gotcha. It has the same Packer then. The same, well,
Yep.
shorter though.
Yeah, I'll grab it real quick.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't want it to infiltrate the whites video too much, but it's back there. So yeah, so it's just shorter, right? So
yeah,
same profile, same taper, but just shorter altogether.
Right.
But these are sweet boots, man. They're comfy.
Beautiful.
But we're not talking about those today. We're talking about whites.
We can reserve that for another time. Yes, absolutely. That's awesome. What leather is that, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
This is the Wicket and Craig tan oil, not oil tanned. It's vegetable tanned. So tan oil Latigo. And it's thick stuff, man. 7 to 8 ounce, like beefy. Wow. That super sprung toe. It's a cool boot, man. So that's that single piece, backstay and heel counter.
Yeah, same back heel stay.
Yeah, perfect. Exactly.
Back strip, back heel counter thing. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I've always wanted to try that Latigo leather too. Maybe one of these days.
Hopefully springtime, I'm going to be teaming up with Nick's to do a little run of the same leather, but in natural. So undyed, fully natural Latigo, me and Marcus. He's going to do one. I'm going to do a different style, and we're going to team up with Nick. So.
Oh man, amazing. Oh, I can't wait to see what you guys do. That sounds so cool.
Stay tuned for that. That's it. But so there'll be some pre-orders and stuff going up. So so they go cats out of the bag on that, I guess.
No, that's okay. Wow, that sounds incredible. Wow, Marcus from Boots Whiskey Cigars, he came up in our conversation last time. Yeah, great guy. He just got the bag that I sent him.
Yeah, that bag you just finished for him looks good.
Thank you. That was a challenge because that British tan, that Seidel British tan double shot, it's thicker and it's got a firm temper. I put in the waxed cotton canvas lining on the inside. I'm like, man, you're gonna need to break this in because that roll top, like, it's gonna be stiff at the top. Like, he's gonna have to like roll it a whole bunch of times before it like really starts to mold and flex correctly. Because even me, it was hard like getting it shut. I'm like, oh man, this is just a tank of a bags.
That's perfect from that. He's like, I don't know, 6'2", 6'4", something like that. So that's perfect for him.
Awesome. Yeah, he was a Marine. He needs tough gear. So I hope.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right. I hope it serves him well. Actually, I wanted to ask you about the cinnamon wax flesh that you just showed.
Yeah.
Because I've seen pictures of it. I've seen Viberg use it. I've never seen it in person. Is it a natural? What would you characterize the dye as? Is it sort of like a chestnut brown or?
I would say it's sort of a chestnut brown. The undertone is more yellow, I would say.
Interesting. Okay.
Which I guess I never really noticed that like in photos. And then when it started happening and you when you catch this in the sunlight, I mean, you're like, dang, like that stuff is like yellow. I'll turn the lights up a little bit. Like it really is pretty yellow underneath.
Okay.
Like the wax color itself though, it's like a walnutty brown, I guess.
Yeah, walnut, definitely.
I like the color of the wax. I don't love the color of the toe. So actually when these toes get like too yellow, I will re-wax them a little bit, which is some like Saphir or Venetian or something, then let it dry just so it re-darkens it. Typically I would just let that wax flesh go. But yeah, I don't like love that yellow undertone. But I love these boots. These boots fit so well.
They're beautiful.
It's just such a classic boot, man. You know, it's
definitely
that berry last. And I know I sent you some side by sides, you know, so like this berry compared to like the Alden berry, it's very similar. This is based off that exact last from that same last manufacturer, right? The berry last. Just that it's got anatomical shape, but it's a nice round toe.
Yes.
And it's super comfy. These don't have a ton of arch support. In my opinion, they have more than the Alden berry does. I think I used to think I had a flat arch, but I'm coming to find out that I have a pretty defined and high arch actually. So I don't feel any arch support in the Alden berry last.
Right. There's none basically.
No, but they say there is, but I definitely feel in here. And so this, in my opinion, this is a good warm up, like to then get into like the 55 or the 50-50 last. You know, it's more arch support than you're going to be used to if you're coming from super flat stuff like Viberg's.
Yeah.
But it's not like, you know, your first foray in the Pacific Northwest of swashbucklers, like you're standing on a ladder rung, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're so tall. They're so,
yeah.
Oh, man. Such tanks. So, okay. So I didn't realize that whites also use berry. I knew that I was aware that different brands used berry, that it wasn't an Alden exclusive thing, but I didn't know whites used it. So that's interesting.
Correct. So the MP is based on the berry last. And so for the MP, if I quote sizing, this is basically what I've gathered from my own experience through bakers and kind of like the general consensus on the internet, right? The quote Neil from Standard and Strange, the internet hive mind, right? This is what most people think is you take one down in length from Brannock and you go up one width, right? So I sent these fit sheets into bakers. And so these are sized off a 10.5 length, 10.5 heel to ball, and a B and BC width. So these are a 9.5 D. So I'm down a full length to 9.5 from 10.5, and I'm up a width from, you know, BC C basically to D width. And when I put these on, I was like, whoa, that actually fits me. That's crazy. Like that, I've never had something that fits so well. And also what whites can do, and what bakers suggested is they did what they call an open instep adjustment. So they open up this instep area, these quarters. They pull these quarters back. It's just a little smaller pattern to open up these facings, so they don't end up, touching. Because I got a call and they're like, "Hey, based on your measurements for your ankle, you got skinny ankles, skinny heel. Based on your measurements, these facings are going to touch at the top when you crank it down after they're broken in, right?" So we did the open instep adjustment and it opens it up, and I still, I have the hidden type B kilty in there for a tiny bit extra volume, and they're perfect. I mean, they're about like there when they're laced up, which to me is perfect. I don't like it when they're too close. I feel like it's not holding my instep enough.
Right, exactly. I had that happen with my very first pair of Truman boots. I ordered them true to size in a size 9, and it was the black chrome XL pair, and I ended up having to send them back and have them remade in a size 8.5, which was perfect. But yes, like on the size 9s, the eyelets at the top were touching essentially, and that scared me away big time. So that's really cool that Whites can customize that and allow you to opt for wider eyelets as just a standard offering. That's really good, especially for guys with skinny ankles. I know Dave would definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, so I've talked to Dave about that. First, he's asked me, hey, Baker suggested the open instep. Did you do that? What do you think about it? And I was like, dude, 100%. I mean, if you're gonna do whatever, a semi-dress or an MP for the skinny ankle crowd, I think that's definitely worth it. That's the only one that I've had that done on. All the other boots have worked out fine.
I was going to say, is it an extra charge for that? Or is it just I would assume it's no extra work. It's just a modified pattern.
Yeah, they don't charge any extra for it. It took a little extra time. They said like I might take like another week or two to get your boots. But their range, they range anywhere right now. Currently is like 12 to 16 weeks.
Okay.
And so my last like 2 pairs I got at like 12 weeks. And then my newest pair I got at more like 15 weeks. So it's in that range, and so it's pretty standard. I mean, most of the Indo makers are about that 4-month,
Yeah, definitely
wait anyways.
Right. Yeah. For a custom pair of boots, yeah, you're gonna wait, a few months at least. That's awesome though. I mean, that's a fairly quick turnaround for a big company, a company as big as White's. One recent comment, and I don't know if this is because I haven't followed White's closely, but one recent comment said White's was purchased by Japanese owners now, or is owned by the Japanese now. And I don't know if that's controversial in the boot world now that it's not like American owned.
There's some controversy over it. So White's was purchased by, I think it's like Lacrosse Footwear, and Lacrosse Footwear is like parent company is like a corporation conglomerate. It's called a ABC Mart. So yeah, technically not an American company anymore. That's like my personal philosophy. That's why I like to use Baker shoe for my Whites for a few reasons. You're supporting Bakers. Bakers they're making money off the boots they sell you. Right. So you're supporting a small business in Oregon, American workers. Those boot orders are still going to White's, which is still in the Pacific Northwest, right?
Yeah.
And the people who are making the boots are Americans, and you're supporting them. They're still getting paid the same. They don't make any less money because you order through Bakers. They don't make any less money because they're not owned by, an American company anymore. Right. And so you're still supporting them. So if anything, it's taking money out of ABC Mart's pocket, like a tiny bit. If you go, not that that's like the goal or anything, but personally to me, like it's still on U.S. soil, still U.S. workers. People get up in arms about that sort of thing. I'm not too political when it comes to that. I like the boots.
Right.
They're still on U.S. soil. Like, I mean, even if they weren't, I don't care. I have Flame Pandas on order and 2 pairs of Benzines on order,
oh yeah, totally. And I think Ticho on the Stitch Down podcast said it well recently. He's like, forget about like these large looming concepts of like made in China, made in wherever. Like think about the individual makers making it, like paying it Fling Panda. It's like, forget that it's made in China. Like you're supporting a person, like a real person that you could talk to, an individual. Like don't think about the country think about the few people making the boots, and I think that's the right philosophy, is just bring it down, like dial it back down. Like, what are we really talking about here? You know?
Absolutely, man. Americans are as a whole, we're pretty good at the whole like ethnocentrism thing. Like, American stuff is the best, and anything other than that's not great. And I mean, I'm a patriot. I got an American flag on the front of my house, But
Right.
like you said, that philosophy. I mean, they're artists, and just because they're born, and if they can't control where they were born, they're still pursuing the same dream. And I know people got up in arms about Lars, the Usmu collaboration with Iron Boots. I can't believe they're going to be made in China, but that's just where the factory is, and these people are they're still humans and still capable of the same level of craftsmanship that the American makers are. So
right. 100%.
It's silly. I don't think it shouldn't even be a discussion, in my opinion, but whatever.
I agree. Right, because you can see in the boot like how it was made, and you could tell if it was made by hand or not. And so the location doesn't matter. You know, those same people could just migrate to the US and make it here, and then it wouldn't be controversial anymore. So it's like, this is something that I've known for a while, is when you see quality, you see it, you identify it, you recognize quality when you see it. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. Like, you can see it. Like, I could tell when it's something's cheaply made in a factory. I call it printed in a factory, because that's essentially what they're doing. They're printing. The sneakers are essentially printed. But when I see a handmade boot, Goodyear welted, that quality, it's recognizable. It's obviously recognizable. So, but that's good. Thank you. Because I'm just soaking up all this white knowledge right now, because I do plan to get into them. Maybe that'll be some of my future ventures with boots, because I got to get to that 100.
Yeah. I think you should, man. They have so many patterns, and this is why I think I've gravitated towards them from the beginning, more so than Nick's. White's does that, the lace to toe. Nick's doesn't really do. They just have more to offer. I love Nick's, don't get me wrong. These boots here, these are a collaboration with a Japanese, menswear store called Empty Garage. So they're on Instagram, emptygarage.jp, I think. Basically they're like a Standard and Strange, but in Japan.
Cool.
And yeah, they have some of the coolest makeup. So these are a 350, which is just like the 6-inch lace to toe, olive wax flesh. They got the contrast, like khaki stitching, lineman patch, Christie wedge. These are a sweet boot, and these are on like a lesser used last. These are on the Northwest last.
Okay.
It'll be shortened like just NW. You'll see that. So that's Northwest last, and so this has actually the lowest arch of any whites last.
Interesting.
Even then, I mean, I still feel the arch in there. There is, there's a little bit of drop still from heel to toe. Internally, there is just less of that arch profile in there, and it's kind of meant through whites, and this is white's language on their website. It's meant to have like zero break-in. It's meant to be super comfy, like kind of right out of the box. It goes well with that wedge sole, just like a super comfortable boot. Soft sole, low arch. It's a good boot. It's got a roomy toe box, so you can see, but it's still pretty tight in that waist and in that heel.
Okay.
This is I like this one a lot. It's real comfy to just throw on and wear all day. I wouldn't do like a ton of work in it. I like that arch support if I'm going to be like really on my feet all day. This is a little on the narrow side. So a lot of times the common kind of sizing advice is to go true to size and length, and sometimes even up a width. The stitch down collaboration, those lace to toe shoes are on this last. I think it's the Merriam like reverse horse butt. So I didn't follow that. I went actually half down break and then up a width. So these are a 10D from a 10.5 C, and they fit great. They're not too short, but they are pretty tight. So I think going up that width was wise. And for sure, if you have wider feet, if you're teetering a little bit past D, I'd go even up a little bit more in width.
Okay, well, good to know. And what was that strip on the inner vamp there?
Yeah, so that's called a lineman patch. So that's just like an
Mhm.
extra little piece there, for like linemen. Out here, we have PG&E does our power. When you're climbing a power pole, that inside of the boot is rubbing on the pole. You got the little hooks in, they'll rub on that. So yeah, the lineman patch is for actual like linemen, but it's an aesthetic thing that I think the Japanese really really like. They like really chunky. So that has the double row welt, and it's like extra thick. It's like real wide, real chunky on foot.
That is awesome. Wow, that's a really cool feature. Yeah, you mentioned it, and I'm like, I've never even heard of what a lineman patch is.
If you look for it, you'll notice it now. Cigar does it a lot on their Cord Masters. You'll see a lot of them. Already George up in Alaska has got a few, at least one pair with a lineman patch on there on his boots.
Yeah, I've seen that on his. I like that. Yeah, it's similar to the roofers, the Thoroughgood roofers. They have this panel. It's a whole separate panel compared to this one here. It's like just an entirely extra piece of leather, like just stitched onto the side of the quarter there, and it just extends forward all, and then they put these like rivets in here as well to like just make it so like as your foot is scraping against the roof, it
Yep.
has plenty of layers to wear through. So similar concept, but still like just so cool.
I think that's what's cool is it's function driving form, right? So like there's a use for this patch professionally if you need it, and those roofers there's a use for that extra layer if you, professionally if you need it, like that's there for a reason. But then it kind of transcends that, crosses over into just like guys like us that I'm not a roofer, I'm not a lineman, but I'll wear the boots because it looks cool. And people will have their opinions about that too. And
Oh yeah.
it's a work boot. It's not a fashion boot, but
Well,
whatever.
with my wife, I might very well end up being a roofer here one of these days. She gets me after roof house projects. So just because I'm not doing it now doesn't mean I won't need them in the future.
It's true.
Yeah, and same with you, like climbing up, poles. You never know. I mean, as a
Never know.
yeah, I used to climb up poles all the time. I used to love it. It was like, like the basketball hoop poles. I'd grab it and and hey, those would be the perfect boots for that because you don't have to worry about wearing that piece down. We hit two of your whites so far. So what's the next pair that you have?
So I got probably the most common 55 last. So I have three pairs on 55. My Thunderdome pair, which I'm actually wearing two different boots right now. I have a 55 on my right foot, and I have one of these on the Northwest on my left foot, just so I could like think about it as I'm talking about it, because it can be tough to like
Yeah,
think if you're not actually physically wearing the boot, if you hadn't written down notes like, oh, how does that actually fit, right?
such a good point.
So yeah, so this is a 350 cutter, so lace to toe. This is just a stock boot, British tan, Chrome Excel. So they call this the Rambler,
Okay.
which is basically just a 350 cruiser, which is the non-lace to toe version of 350 cutter, with this huge Vibram 2021 wedge. They call it the Rambler. But these are a little different because this is a soft toe,
Okay.
right? Super soft toe, and it's a lot more
Yes.
low profile than the structured toe of this 55. So same last, but that profile really changes. The shape is really different, and you can, on those photos I sent you, if you do some overlays,
Yeah.
you can really see. And I found that it actually changes like the shape too. These almost get a little more pointy, a little more almondy, and then these are a little more round to my eye looking down at them, right?
Definitely more round. Yeah.
So 55 is like the quintessential their heritage line, like it's the last, right?
Their last, yeah, kind of like the Alden
Yeah,
True Balance. It's like that's the Alden last, essentially. They'll do other stuff, but this is what they're known for. Their flagship.
totally right.
Yeah,
Yeah, on the work side, it's like the C461, or like which is I think like the smoke jumper last. Those might be different, but that classic smoke jumper last, very
yeah,
similar. Huge arch support in these, like same as those Knicks that you got. Talk about a comfortable boot. So this is a Seidel like oil rough out. It's
right.
pretty soft. It's probably more like a 5 to 6 ounce, or 6 to 7. Soft
Okay.
toe and this huge sole. Like this boot
Yeah.
is so comfortable. It's insane how comfy these things are. Like they're, I mean, yeah, so comfy. It's crazy.
Right. And they'll be like light. I assume they're lightweight too because of that crispy wedge sole, right?
These are pretty lightweight. Yeah, the 2021 is a lot lighter than the Christie. These boots are really heavy with
Oh,
that extra patch and the weight of the wax flesh.
yes.
All those soles on there, all the leather. These
Right.
are definitely lighter and they're comfy.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's a pretty roomy toe box, and the 55.
Right.
It's yeah, man. I don't know. I can't say enough good things about the 55. Really,
Yeah. So you have 3 pair on the 55 last then, right? The cinnamon wax flesh that you first showed me, right? And
those
then
are MP. That's the MP last.
oh, the MP last. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Which is the
I didn't
berry
realize.
last. So
Very,
these
yeah.
are 55. These are 55, and then my Thunderdome 7-inch Bounty Hunters are 55. So with whites, the semi-dress last is also just the 55 last. They just, for whatever reason, on the semi-dress and then through Baker's, when you make a Bounty Hunter, you
Yeah.
click the semi-dress last is the 55, and they're the exact same last. They just to
Oh,
be more confusing, they call it a semi-dress last, but it's just the 55 last. So
okay, that's good to know. Okay, so 55 is semi-dress because I always see semi-dress and I never really know what it means. But okay, so that makes perfect sense. And then so the MP, I've always gotten confused with that as well. Do you know what MP stands for?
MP is like military police.
Oh, really? Okay, that's because that's what I was
Yeah,
gonna think. Like,
yeah,
I assumed that wasn't the case because we're talking about boots, but okay, military police. Okay, I didn't realize. And then that's also its own. So it's its own like sort of boot model, and then it's also a last in and of itself, the MP last.
yeah. So it is referred to on their side as MP last, but I think maybe it used to be referred to more as just the berry. But I think
Okay,
confusion maybe to set it apart from Alden, it's just become kind of the MP, but it's the model. So like military police based off of like a military service boot. So MP, right?
cool, love it. I'm learning so much. Thank you.
Yeah, no
You-
problem, man.
yeah, you have to. Yeah, sorry if I'm like slow with it, but it's like it's really it's a new language. It's
It's
just
no language. Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And it's, I see the terminology and I can recognize the whites specific terminology, but I just don't know what any of it means.
Totally. No problem, man. The 55 is usually pretty simple to size. It's one of those ones that I feel like if you size on 55, it's pretty easy to go up and down between the last.
Okay.
Typically they're a half down Brannick in length and then
Yeah.
one up in width most people will do. These are a 10D and it's good. I mean it's snug
Uh-huh.
in the heel in the waist and has a little bit roomier toe box than that MP Berry last.
Okay.
Not so roomy that I'm swimming, but like comfortable roomy. My ball has room to flex and to expand. It's a really comfortable like
Cool.
last to walk in
Yeah.
without being too tight back here.
Cool. Yeah, because that's big for me. I need to splay my toes. Like that's one thing. I cannot stand my toes being squeezed. It just I get claustrophobic. It's I love having room in the toe box. I like my heel to be locked in, but at the same time, I don't like being squeezed. And so yeah, that's definitely with these Knicks, very good fit. These also allow me to do that. I could tell if I had like back issues or something, these would be like so supportive. Like you said, wearing a piece of armor on your foot.
Yeah, and you know what, man, I've struggled with back issues for a long time, and
Yeah.
seriously, since wearing like proper footwear, like well-made boots,
Yeah.
I've had like, I mean, almost like no back issues. It's pretty crazy.
Wow.
I'm
That's
a tattoo artist, so I'm working like this all
yeah.
the time. I'm hunched over. I'm looking at my work. I'm slouching. Have horrible posture. My lower back and sciatic issues. But seriously, the boots, the arch support, like proper footwear, has really helped me. It helps me to
Yeah.
just like stand up straight and to walk and to kind of just have that more confidence in my stride, right?
Definitely, yes. And I consider boots, I consider them equipment. I consider them, and like Ron Ryder says, he considers them medical equipment. He takes
Sure.
takes it even a step further. And they're handsome, they're good looking things. So they improve your life aesthetically that way, but also the support that you get, you just can't beat it. I mean, they improve your quality of life, truly, like in every way. Like
Totally.
like every time you take a walk, now it becomes like a joy, whereas in sneakers, when would you consider a walk in sneakers like just a joy? Like I know personally never felt that. It's like I grew up wearing sneakers, and I think I grew up wearing the wrong size sneakers, and yeah, they're light.
Sure.
So, like they're light, great, like, and people always equate light with comfortable or light with good. It's like, well, why is that true? Like, I actually like a heavy boot. I like it to remind me it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally, man. I think that like that first walk when you get a new boot, you're like, I'm gonna go break this thing in and go for a walk. Like I'm never more excited to go on a walk.
Exactly. And if you think about it, that really brings just so much fulfillment to your life. Just in general. Like my kid wants me to walk him to the park. You know what? Heck yeah, I'm wearing my Knicks. I'm wearing my Aldens. I'm wearing my Thoroughgoods.
Right.
Let's do it. Let's take a walk. I love walking. I love walking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's a good Dale. So these are my one of my Thunderdome pairs, the 7-inch Bounty Hunter, which the Bounty Hunter that's not a model that White's does. This is what through Baker's shoes, this is what they do, and it's just kind of like their code name for whatever infinitely customizable pair of White's boots, the Bounty Hunter. So you can get the Bounty Hunter in a lace to toe or a non-lace to toe, 6, 7, 8-inch. These are two-tone, obviously, really similar to the swashbucklers. This is natural wax flesh, but this is natural CXL, not just the smooth out of the natural wax. This is actual CXL. And so these have a cool thing to do is these have a single row. So on that shoemaker on Baker's site, it's called a close trim, whereas the standard is a double row stitch on that outsole stitch. And it does a lot to really slim this down. When you're looking straight down at it, that profile, I mean, it's a way slimmer boot. It looks more like the MP does when you're looking down, just slimmer, and this is the Bounty Hunter semi-dress last, which is just the 55 last. It's the same last.
Okay, so the White's Bounty Hunter. Now I've been on the Baker's website throughout the years because that's where people typically refer me to. It's one of the, like the best sites to go to. But I have, I look at it, I just get so overwhelmed with the options. So, but what you're saying is like the Bounty Hunter is the one that's completely customizable from top to bottom, length, all of it, the sole. So for yours, what would make it characteristically a Bounty Hunter? Is it that last that they use for it, or what makes it a Bounty Hunter in general?
So the Bounty Hunter is just this boot and this boot. It's either the lace to toe 350 or the non-lace to toe 350, and so you're either picking non-lace to toe or lace to toe, and then from there you go pick your height, you pick your leathers on the vamp counter and shaft, you pick your trim, you pick your hardware, pull loop, sole, midsoles, you pick all that stuff out. And so it's just just this pattern, right? So the two-piece counter and backstay, it's the same pattern. So that's the Bounty Hunter. It's just customizable, this boot. So it's not an MP is not a Bounty Hunter, that's an MP. There's a customizable MP, there's a customizable Stevens. We haven't touched on this one yet. There's a customizable Stevens. There's a customizable semi-dress. So the Bounty Hunter is just it's this pattern.
That pattern.
The 350 lace to toe, the 350 plain toe.
And so that pattern, I see how it's unique in that it like the back heel stay sort of it extends forward well into the quarter, and then the front part of the vamp sort of meets it.
Yeah, so this is just how Whites does their lace to toe.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then and so it's the same counter on the non-lace to toe, but
Yeah.
then that quarter comes out, from like kind of the middle of it halfway up and comes out on a non-lace to toe.
Okay.
So it's a little confusing. I'll definitely give you that. But
Yeah.
so the bounty hunter, it's just one of these two boots, these
Yeah.
patterns, and then infinitely customizable. And
Okay.
when Whites isn't like super busy, you can send leathers to bakers, and bakers can have boots made in like whatever leather you want, or you can order Dr. Soul from overseas, and they'll put Dr. Soul outsoles on it. You can
Cool.
send your own leather in if you want, as long as they're willing to work with it. Super super customizable.
Dang, that's amazing. Well, that's gonna be fun. That'll be my next 10 pair over the next 2-3 years.
It's crazy, man. I've heard rumors bakers are supposed to have been working on like a visualization tool, like you can see it in real time kind of being built. It's not there yet, but one day I think that'll just be even more dangerous,
Yes, it will.
to be able to see it.
Cool. Well, thank you. Yeah, this is so illuminating. Like seriously, because it does take a lot more understanding, I think, to get into whites. I think they have so many options that it can overwhelm you, and that's how I
Sure.
felt every time I've ever looked on there, thinking about like whether or not I want to, do something. I just get overwhelmed. It's like I hate to sound so simplistic, but I love it when just a brand like Truman and Grant Stone, they put all the thought into the model and the makeup and they just release it. It's like, here, you like this, buy it.
Yeah, totally, totally. And to like if you just stay on Whites, if you forget about Baker's shoe for a little bit, if you just stay on White's site, they do have a lot of stock offerings that are like that. This is a stock boot. This is just straight off. I got this through
Okay.
Baker's, but this is just straight off White's website. Chrome XL,
Yeah.
350 cutter. This is a stock boot. I didn't customize this at all. This, aside from the sizing and that being pulled back, this is a stock boot, just the cap toe MP.
Cool.
So really, just this boot is super custom.
Yeah.
My bounty hunters are super custom, and then these Stevens are slightly customized. Stock, these come with a day night, and I went with the Vibram 700 V bar sole.
The V bar.
It's a great sole, man. I vastly prefer it to the day night sole.
Like this is my first V bar personally. Didn't even know it was a thing, but yeah, Angel, he put that on his swashbucklers, and I love them. Yeah, they're awesome.
It's a good call. It's a great all around, and it's super slim. You don't see any lug from the side, so you can really dress it up, right? If you need to, like it's still a pretty slim silhouette. Yes. So this boot, this is the Stevens boot.
Beautiful.
Similar in pattern to the MP, but kind of a la like Alden or that like Viberg Hulkhet boot. No external anything back here, just the backstay, just to cover up that seam, but no heel counter. And so it's a little more of, I guess, going for a little more dressy look, kind of old school dress.
Yeah.
So they do a plain toe, and then they do a dress cap. So this is White's dress cap, and not everyone loves their brogue holes are a little on the bigger side.
Yeah.
Compared to like say like Alden or something, they're a little bigger. So
yeah.
And that's an option. So if you pick the dress cap on like the Bounty Hunter or the NP, you can get that through Baker. That's what it'll look like versus their like 4-row stitch regular cap toe. I didn't have any dress caps. But now I got these, and I got those cigar jumper Aldens. They're pretty sweet.
Yes, amazing.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man. They're pretty sweet. I'm stoked on those.
Yeah, definitely.
Grail for sure.
No doubt about that. They're Grail. Yeah. Cigar shell is something. Is something that will complement any man's collection.
You got too many boots, Dale. You can't even find your brass boots, man.
I know. I'm looking. Well, I'm looking for my 2030 Vibergs in color 8 Chrome XL to sort of compare.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Right. All right, yeah. So those look similar to these Parkhursts in Color 8 Dublin. I would say though that the Dublin is a lot darker, more of a wine color compared to
Absolutely.
your Color 8 Chrome Excel there. But yeah, what those really remind me of are the Color 8 Chrome Excel Viberg service boot there. So
Totally.
yes, it's a very, very similar look. You have black laces in there?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, burgundy and black go so well together, you know.
With that brass hardware. Yeah. I just got these. I've actually only worn these once for a couple times, but like a full day at work
Okay.
once. And they're great, man. This is honestly probably my favorite last so far.
Is that the 55 as well, or?
This is the 50/50 last.
50. Okay, that's right. You mentioned that before. Okay. Yes.
So 50/50 is like the arch, the arch, the waist back is 55 last.
Okay.
And then that forward is the MP Berry last.
Oh.
So you get the MP Berry toe, kind of that anatomical shape, just like that super round toe, but you get that rise. You see how much taller that heel is than the MP heel. I mean, it's quite a bit taller there.
Yes, it is. Wow, at least a quarter inch, maybe a half inch.
Yeah, so you get that rise and that arch support. Like this feels exactly like those Knicks do on the inside, right?
Yes.
But then that kind of a little more sleek, if you just prefer that NP toe, that berry feel on the toe, which I really love. I love Alden's berry. I love White's berry. And so this is super cool. And it's not on White's website, but definitely available. It's just not in their last guide section yet, but it's out there. And I know at least all the Stevens are on this last. And so it's super cool. It is. Wow. This one is probably the most like complicated to size. Well, I asked Kyle recently via email from Baker, and he said he sizes them like MP. So, which would be full down from Brannick in length and then up a width. But my buddy Ian, shout out to him. Everyone else's fault. It's his Instagram name.
Yeah.
So he sent me his kind of like what Baker sent him, and they went up 2 widths. So he's like a 10E, and they sized him at a 9F on the 50/50.
Oh my God.
And I can see that. So these are a 10D for me. So one full down on my left foot, my 11. So it's one full down at a 10 there. And then I'm up, like 1.5. So from between B and C up to a D width. So that's about 1.5 widths, almost 2. And it's like, it's tight. If I was a true C width, these would be too tight in the waist.
Okay.
The saddle, as they say. So, this part in here where your arch, the inside of your foot, the medial side rests. So this saddle really it holds you up. Like it's like it cups the waist of your foot. And more than any other boot, and I don't know if it's just because these are a little more narrow than like my 55. If I had a more narrow 55, it might do the same, but in the same B width, like these, like they're like holding your foot up. It's kind of a crazy feeling, but so supportive and so comfy. And then with just like how like sleek that silhouette is on this boot, like it's a really special boot, I think.
Oh, definitely. That thing is gorgeous, man. Nice pickup there. And where'd you get that? Did you get that through Baker's, or did you get that?
I did through Baker's. They did, I think it was like the 20% off Father's Day sale.
Nice.
Yeah, I popped on these. Actually, I was tattooing Marcus, and he was texting Kyle, and we were like, "Oh, it's a sale today." And I was like, "I've been wanting those Stevens," and Marcus is like, "I'll get a pair too." And so he ordered a pair. He hasn't gotten his yet, but they were like a Merriam natural horse butt. I think Baker's had some of that just like laying around that they send into Whites for him. He's special like that and has those ins. So he got that, and I just went for the burgundy Chrome XL, and then opted for that sole change, without the day night.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, Marcus, he probably has 100 pair of boots, doesn't he? He's got
Oh,
so
easily.
yeah, at least. Yeah, that guy, man, he's got such a enviable collection. Oh God, I look at his page, I'm like, oh man, he's got so many, and especially like the lace to toe logger type boots. He's really got me looking really closely at the natural colored like lace to toe logger style boots.
Yep.
He's got like those Tojiki or Tochigi, I think you pronounce it, leathers. Super nice.
Yep.
He's got oh man, just I can't even list them all, obviously. There's just too many lists, but yeah, he just has an amazing boot collection. And so I can imagine tattooing him is probably dangerous because he's like sitting there on his phone, like probably telling you like what's going on in the boot world.
Oh yeah, totally. It's been a minute. We finished his arm a while ago, so I haven't had him back in since. But
okay, gotcha.
But you know, we'll still talk and stuff. But it would be more dangerous if I saw him more often, for sure.
Right. Yeah, I need you to do this whole tattoo on my back. And by the way, Nick's has this going on. Oh, White's has this. Oh, look, Renav Goods there.
Yeah, he's got all the ins for sure. And so that's a good thing too about Bakers is they will do like a few sales per year, and I've gotten I think almost all these, maybe aside from one. So these weren't through Bakers, but all my other whites have been through Bakers. I think I've gotten all of them on sale.
Cool.
They'll do a 20% off like 2-3 times a year, like Black Friday, Memorial Day, Father's Day. And that's a good time because I mean that's incredible value to get these boots 20% off.
Right. I didn't realize they did sales. That's really good to know. Yeah. Some of these heritage brands they don't do sales hardly at all. I mean, you want to get Alden on sale, like forget it, like won't happen.
Yeah, you got to get lucky and find a shop that's doing like a last call, and it just happens to be your size, right? And you might get lucky and get a little bit of a deal. But yeah, to get these for well, I think 20% off probably ends up being like 450, 460 ship, something something like that. They range in price too if you customize them and
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, that's good to know. I'll keep an eye out there. I brought this up last time. Like the comments that I get most is, when are you going to try Nicks? When are you going to try whites? When are you going to? It's always the question. If it wasn't for Angel, I wouldn't have even tried Nicks yet. So it's stressful jumping on a new brand and having to learn all the lasts and all the sizing. So this type of discussion really helps out. Yeah, I think it sounds like I'll just need to like sort of correspond with whites. But so just to rehash a little bit, if I took an 8.5 and I'm happy with the fit in the Nicks on the 55, right? Then that's basically a direct translation to whites on the 55 as well. Then
absolutely, yeah, they should be both just like a half down from Brannick. If that's accurate for how you size those, I would just do the same with whites. And
okay, awesome. Yeah, it gets stressful, like with the fit gymnastics game. It's like I don't have to tell you. It's like when you can't try them on in person, it's just as much information as you can get before placing the order, the better. So
each of these lasts have like their own little nuances of how heels maybe slightly more narrow and stuff, but I find them all to more or less like be really, really similar. You're just kind of dealing with a slightly different arch profile. Mostly what I've felt in my experience has just been the toe box it's just the shape and the roominess of the toe box. It's either taller or it's a little bit wider. And so if you're a guy that likes, the arch and the waist and the heel to be snug and kind of doesn't really matter to you what that toe box is doing, if it's more just you just like the way that the toe box looks, then and I wouldn't worry about it too much because they're not so different that like it's not like a crazy math equation you got to come up with to size these. It's just I think to me pretty simple: a full down or a half down, and then width accordingly. And both whites and Bakers, they know what they're doing, and so don't quote me on this stuff for sure. Like seek out the pros, and the cool thing is you just got to do that once, and you can ask them, hey, tell me what size I am in each of these, and then you just have that. You got that permanent reference,
Cool. Cool. Very, very useful. Such good information, I think, for the boot community, writ large. To have a video where we sit down, talk about it, go through, and just leave people with some information that they could really really use as a reference, because that's partly why I think the sizing videos are so good. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, I always throw in the caveat, like, hey, I'm a consumer, I'm not a maker. Like, ask the maker, but here's my
Sure.
opinion as to how this stuff works. Hopefully it helps people, and everybody really, they have a different approach. Like Ticho was saying, like, he gets it right nearly all the time just through a conversation, asking the person what sizes they wear in different brands, and forget the foot measurements and all that. And then Ron Ryder, he has a completely different philosophy. He wants to have the person in front of him to make a
Right.
recommendation. And everybody has they have their philosophies. And like Ron Ryder was saying, like, it's not so much about foot measurements as much as your foot volume, right? So it doesn't matter. Well, it matters, your foot measurements, but volume is really going to determine how your foot sits within the boot, how much volume is in the boot, and the volume of your foot itself. So I think that was really illuminating as well. So yeah, I mean, there's just so many philosophies when it comes to sizing that,
Yeah,
it's tough. Sizing is its own language, I would say.
totally. I think that's why I gravitate a lot towards the lace to toes, because there's just more adjustment in that volume. If you want it a little more loose, like right up here, you just loosen those laces up. You have a lot more adjustment. So the width is like a little less. If you say you have a D, like technically a D width right at your ball, but you have a really voluminous foot, right? I don't want to use the FAT word, but if you got a really voluminous foot,
Yeah.
This lace to toe is going to be good for you.
Yeah.
Because you can spread that out, and you might need a D width, but like that instep on a non-lace to toe, that instep's going to be so tight on you, right? So to be able to adjust with that, and you'll see it on some guys that you can tell have a higher volume foot. It's really wide right there, then it will get skinny again when as they're wearing it, and that's super helpful on a lace to toe because you can dial that in, whereas you can't necessarily do that as well on a non-lace to toe. For me, that's one of the advantages to like that roofer, like a monkey boot style, or just like a more standard lace to toe, to dial in that volume, because it's important. If it doesn't fit, if it doesn't feel good, you're not going to wear them.
So true.
It's a waste.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. And I love the way these feel on my foot. It's just hugs perfectly the way you lace it up. And not to mention, I think laces also have an impact on how it sort of hugs your foot as well, because with leather laces, just like leather, it can stretch, and sort of, it has just a little bit of stretch. Your body's made of skin. Well, so are the laces. And so I think the laces sort of complement how it sits on your foot. Whereas like a cotton lace, it's not stretching, like it's intransigent, it's it's fixed. And so with my cotton laces throughout the day, I could tell sometimes I need to loosen up those cotton laces. Never need to loosen up a leather lace. Flexes and it breathes, it ebbs and it flows with your foot. As your foot expands and contrasts, the leather lace can do that as well, which is another reason why I just prefer it. It's just it's more comfortable, it's more ergonomic.
In my head, I always picture like a suspension seat. So like off-road cars, they have like a suspension seat. And so when you're like neutral, when you're just like flat, like you don't notice the flex, but the seat will actually move with you, like, and support you throughout that whole range when you start hitting bumps off road and stuff. So yeah, I think the leather laces are like that. When you're just walking, you're neutral, you don't notice that flex, but when you actually stress them, you'll feel that flex and they'll move with you. Whereas like a flat wax lace, which I like as well, I'm about 50-50 with leather or flat wax. Yeah, when these are too tight, you notice it and you have to loosen them up because they don't give, right?
Totally. And that's a really good analogy with that car seat suspension system you're talking about. It's literally the same thing. It can either absorb some of that trauma.
It'll give or it'll resist.
Right. It's like when you're driving down the road in a car with no suspension whatsoever, you feel every little tiny rock you roll over. It's like, oh,
Yep.
It's like a similar thing, whereas with leather laces, and similar to like the type of sole, you have more shock absorption. And that's why I love cork soles. I love leather soles because to me there's just more support there. Whereas rubber soles, yeah, they're great and all, but I can't stand in them nearly as long as like a cork sole like this one, or the leather sole. I love leather soles. They're so supportive. So much more appropriate, I would say, for like your posture, and the density of the leather fibers really adds just so much like real good cushion for your foot, as opposed to, yeah, the rubber feels good at first. It's kind of bouncy, but it's not good for like super long-term support, I would say.
You're never going to wear a foot impression into a rubber sole,
Right. Very well said. So just to recap a little bit, so you've got 2 entries into the Stitch Down Thunderdome. You're the first person I've met that has 2. That's exciting.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's tricky because wearing them, 2 of them, I'm not wearing each one like a ton, right? But yeah, so I got these whites, natural wax flesh, natural chrome XL, and then the NYX Prospector in the Wicked and Craig Latigo, or Latigo, Latigo, whatever you want to say. Yeah, man, it's cool. Yeah. 2 boots. I figure why not? I mean, whatever. I'm not trying. I don't even know if I can win because I'm one of the sponsors for one of the prizes I'm giving away. So I honestly don't even know if I can win, but I don't really care. It's for fun.
Yeah, and well, if you subscribe to Stitch Down, you should absolutely be in the running. I mean,
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm not the super competitive type, so I was talking to Dave about this. Like, yeah, I want to do it and I want to have fun, but I'm not like sprinting for that finish. Like, I'm not going to take it so seriously that it's not fun. I'll put some effort into it, at my leisure, at my comfort. The natural crushed shell cordovan, it's really cool. Like, I'm wearing them now. You can kind of see it. Yeah. They've already got like a ton of patina. This is only the second wear.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know what this is. I think I spilled coffee on them or something. But this is my first time with crushed shell cordovan, and you know what? It's got like a very nubuck type of a quality about it. It's not smooth or shiny like typical shell is. It feels more like a nubuck, and it's almost like a super duper micro suede. Like that's essentially what a nubuck or a
right
is. It's like when you feel it, it's almost fuzzy. And what's interesting about these in particular is this might sound weird, but since they're almost white, they're white, but they have like a bone quality about them in terms of like their coloration. Like they're white, but if you ding them or you nick them, they get darker immediately. So it's just a really bizarre leather. It's a first for me, that's for sure. The crushed shell. It's really interesting stuff. I know Ticho has some. I know Ryan at Farmer's Mums, he just got some. I think he's doing his Stitch Down pair in natural crushed shell as well. So
cool.
And actually, here's my hope. These are natural shell cordovan. See how amber they've become.
Yeah.
That's my hope. I hope that in 7 months, this is what they look like. Like, I haven't added pigment to it. It's just conditioner and Venetian and pure polish. But you see how amber, like golden,
very dark compared to where they start.
right, exactly. In fact, I can't tell the difference between these and these saddle tan veg Badalassi grandstones. Like I can't
they look very similar.
Yeah,
they do.
I have to be up close to tell. So, yeah, so that's my hope. So what do you hope yours end up looking like? Just
crazy. Man, I honestly don't know if these nicks are going to change very much. The stuff is so like it's like so beefy and so hardy. The creases are set there in the toe, but these already had like quite a bit of variation, just new. So I think they seem to scuff lighter. I don't think they are going to change quite as much as the whites are. The whites, natural CXL, I'm sure we'll see some crocking, and this shaft will get pretty dark. I already got a couple scuffs on the toe there. So the lighter compared to like the more yellow of the cinnamon, but the more lighter tone of the core of the rough out of this leather will come through hopefully. And so I think these will patinate a little bit more for sure. These will probably be what I'll throw on just because those nicks are so nice. And I don't want to I'm not going to go out of my way to beat up my boots. These are like
Right.
the spirit of the competition, right? Like real honest wear. That's what I'm going for. And whatever that means throughout this winter and the projects on the house I do,
For
if I
sure.
know I'm getting into something super dirty, I probably will take the Knicks off and throw these on if I'm wearing the Knicks. They can certainly take it. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to
Yeah.
say. Either way, they're super comfy. Both these boots are like so comfy, and it's hard with all this, in front of me. It's pretty tough to decide, and it's hard to just pick these. That's the
Yeah.
hardest thing I'm finding out about the competition is like just wearing your boots that are in the
Right.
competition.
Yeah, that's true. Well, one trick, and I guess it's not so much a secret, but like one thing that I found that really helps bring out the patina is wearing them in the rain. Wear them, get them wet. If it's raining outside, grab your umbrella, but like go take a stroll and
Yep.
let them air dry for a day or two and put them back on. They'll have rolls and ripples and really break in nicely when they're wet. So yeah, and then you do that a few times, and that really brings the patina out just brilliantly. So that's my trick anyways. It's honest, it's real. It's real wear, but that's my favorite way. It's like if it's pouring outside and I got nothing going on, I'll grab my umbrella, I'll take a stroll, put in some headphones, listen to a podcast. I love it. I love walking out in the rain. Plus you get all the negatively charged ionized air, which is really good to breathe in. It's really good for your blood and for balancing out your pH. It's good for detox too. I mean, it's obvious when you smell, that fresh water hitting another surface smell. It's got that fresh smell about it. It's like very good to breathe in. It's that negatively charged ions that are super good to breathe in. I mean, it's good for your mental health and just fresh air. It's the freshest air. You get a health benefit, you get some exercise, and you get to patinate your boots while you're at it. So can't beat that.
Well, if it ever rains in California again, I'll make sure to go outside.
That's true. You might not be getting any here.
Yeah, I've been in a drought for a decade, so
yeah.
we'll see.
So I hope you guys get some rain here soon. Well, anyways, man, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on again. Obviously, we have to do this again, in a month or two when we have more to talk about. Maybe do like a patina update on your whites. I think that would be fun. Something along those lines.
So. Dude, let's do that, and let's invite Dave next time because I want to see how his clinches are coming along.
Okay, it's a plan. It's a date. Yeah, we'll get
That'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll get a group text going and we'll figure out a time. That sounds like a fantastic idea. Cool, man. Well, yeah, I guess we could leave it there for now. And yeah, I look forward, to talking with you next time. And man, thanks again. This has just been amazing, very educational for the boot community. I mean, this is
cool. I hope so.
Tremendously helpful. So thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me on again, man. And yeah, I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Yes.
That's a great idea though. Put Patina Thunderdome update boot talk. Make it happen.
That sounds like a blast to me. Absolutely. Well, thanks so much again, and I will talk at you next time.
All right, man.
All right. Later, brother.